In the middle of the city's labyrinth of streets, surrounded by graffiti walls and the strong smell of asphalt, lived Miguel, a boy with blue eyes and a shy smile. His home was the cold street, his blanket, the starry sky, and his only company was the wind that whispered stories through the cracks in the buildings. Miguel had a peculiar dream: to talk to God. On freezing nights, when loneliness became heavy, he raised his face to the sky, looking to the stars for answers to his questions and relief for his pains. On a gray day like so many others, Miguel met Lucas, an older street boy hardened by the harshness of life. Lucas, with his tired look and bitter voice, laughed at Miguel's dream. "God is too busy with important things to worry about a boy like you," he said. "Give up this illusion and accept reality." Lucas' words hit Miguel like a punch in the stomach. He felt small and insignificant, as if his dream was just childish nonsense. But inside him, a flame persisted. That same night, while the stars shone like diamonds in the dark sky, Miguel met Ana, a young volunteer at a shelter for homeless people. With her gentle manner and welcoming smile, Ana approached Miguel and, noticing the sadness in his eyes, asked him about his dreams. With hesitation, Miguel shared his desire to talk to God. Ana listened to him attentively, her eyes shining with emotion. "God is never too busy to listen to a child's heart," she said. "He loves you, Miguel, and is always by your side, even if you don't see him." Ana's words rekindled hope in Miguel's heart. He looked up to the sky, confident that his voice would be heard. So, on a night lit by a silver moon, Miguel sat down on an old crate, raised his face to the stars, and, with a heart full of faith, began to speak. "God, I'm here, alone, with no one to hear me, but I know you can hear me. I dream of telling you my fears, my sadness and desires. I want to know if you see me, and if you care about me." A deep silence enveloped the night. Miguel closed his eyes, waiting for an answer. Suddenly, a voice soft as the wind whispered in his ears, "Miguel, my son, I have always seen you. I was always by your side, even in the most difficult times. I know every tear you shed, every fear that haunts you, every dream you keep in your heart." God's voice was like a balm for Miguel's soul. He felt a comforting warmth fill his being, and tears began to slide down his face. "God," Miguel whispered, "I feel so alone." "You will never be alone, Miguel," God replied. "I am always with you. Within you, there is my strength, my light, and my hope." Miguel listened attentively to God's words, absorbing each teaching like a sponge. God taught him how to overcome losses, deal with failures, face fears, and discover the strength that was always within him. One day, Miguel was walking through the deserted streets of the city, his stomach growling with hunger. It had been days since I had eaten anything decent, just crumbs and scraps found in the trash. Hunger squeezed his chest like a handful of thorns stuck in his soul. It was Christmas Eve, and the cold night air was cut by the distant sound of bells and carols. The colorful lights in the windows seemed to mock his loneliness. Miguel felt even more helpless, like a castaway in a sea of indifference. Suddenly, his eyes fell on a familiar object, warm, fluffy bread in a basket in front of a bakery. The floor was dirty, and he hesitated, torn between hunger and disgust. But the hunger was relentless, and he bent down, picking up the bread with trembling hands. When biting into the bread, Miguel felt a different flavor, almost heavenly, as if God had blessed that food, transforming it into a divine delicacy. Excited, Miguel raised his eyes to the sky, with tears streaming down his face, and thanked God for the unexpected gift, for listening to his hunger and giving him a sign of his presence. At that moment, a deep peace took over his being. The physical hunger had been satisfied, but the hunger of the soul had also been appeased. He knew that God was with him, even in the most difficult times, and that he would never abandon him. On a cold day, where everything seemed gray, as the sun set on the horizon, a little old lady walked through the city streets. She introduced herself as Madalena and invited Miguel to come to her house. He, a little afraid, accepted the invitation, as he was very cold. "Come in, my son," she said in a sweet, welcoming voice. "Here you will find warmth, food, and a place to rest." Dona Madalena offered Miguel a steaming bowl of soup and a piece of soft bread. He devoured the food, savoring each morsel as if it were a feast. While eating, Miguel told Grandma Madalena about his life on the streets, the hunger, the cold, and the loneliness that accompanied him day after day. The old lady listened to him attentively, her eyes filled with compassion. When he finished speaking, Madalena said, "Miguel, you no longer need to live on the street. You can stay here with me. I have an empty room, and you can help me with the housework." Miguel was speechless. Grandma Madalena's proposal seemed like a dream come true. He never imagined that someone could offer him a home, a place where he would be welcomed and loved. With tears in her eyes, she thanked Grandma Madalena for her kindness and accepted the offer. That night, Miguel slept for the first time in a warm, comfortable bed, under the protection of a welcoming roof. He fell asleep with a smile on his face and a heart full of gratitude. From that day on, Miguel's life changed completely. He lived happily with Grandma Madalena, helping her around the house and learning from her wisdom and experience. He finally found a home, a family, and hope for a better future. The story of Miguel and Grandma Madalena teaches us that kindness and love can transform lives. She reminds us that we should never judge people by appearances, because often, behind a tired face and worn-out clothes, there is a pure soul and a heart full of hope. Miguel's story teaches us that faith, hope, and love are the most powerful tools we have to overcome life's challenges. She reminds us that we are never alone, that God is always by our side, ready to listen, console, and guide us. It's a story that invites us to look at the sky, not just with our eyes, but with an open heart, and to find the inner strength to move forward, even when the stars seem dim. If you find yourself like Miguel, sad, discouraged, thinking that God doesn't love you, doesn't hear you, and doesn't care about you, know that God is your best friend. He is a safe and present Father who loves you more than anything in this universe. Whenever you want to talk to Him, God will be ready to hear your cry. If you like this message, share it with your friends and help expand our community of faith and hope. May this message, wherever it arrives, bear fruit and reach more and more people. Subscribe to our channel and share your life story in the comments. Miguel's life with Grandma Madalena continued to flourish. He started to help with the daily tasks, and, over time, he developed a strong bond with the old lady. Madalena became a mother figure to Miguel, offering not only shelter but also love and guidance. Conversations at the table, filled with laughter and life stories, became precious moments that Miguel valued immensely. With Madalena's support, Miguel began to dream again. He wanted to study, learn to read and write, and perhaps one day, help other children who, like him, lived on the streets. Madalena encouraged his dreams and promised that she would do everything she could so he could go to school. "Education is the key to a better future," she said, with a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Miguel, determined, dedicated himself to his studies diligently. He got up early, helped Madalena with the housework, and then went to school. The classes were challenging, but he tried hard. With each new learning experience, Miguel felt that his life was transforming. He not only gained knowledge, but also a new perspective on himself and the world. Over time, Miguel began to excel at school. His teachers noticed his talent and dedication, and he soon became an example for other students. The boy who once dreamed of talking to God now inspired others to believe in their own dreams. He had become a symbol of hope for many. In addition to his studies, Miguel was also involved in community projects, helping to collect food and clothing for needy children. He knew from experience how important it was to have someone who cared. Thus, Miguel became an advocate of love and solidarity, spreading the message that no one should feel alone. Years passed, and Miguel graduated with honors. With Madalena's support and the love of his new family, he finally achieved a dream that seemed impossible. He decided he wanted to be a teacher, so he could teach other children to believe in themselves and fight for a better future. Miguel knew that education had the power to change lives, just as it changed his. On graduation day, Miguel looked up at the sky and thanked God for all the blessings he received. He remembered all the nights he had talked to God, seeking comfort and hope. Now, he felt closer to the divine than ever, knowing that his faith and perseverance had gotten him there. After becoming a teacher, Miguel started working at a school that served children in vulnerable situations. He dedicated himself to each student, listening to their stories and encouraging them to dream big. Miguel knew that many of these children faced similar challenges to the ones he had faced, and his mission was to show them that change was possible. Miguel and Madalena's story spread throughout the community, and they became an example of love and resilience. Over time, Miguel created a mentoring program for homeless youth, offering emotional and academic support. He wanted every child to know that there was a path to hope and that they should never give up on their dreams. Miguel learned that by helping others, he also helped himself. Every smile from a child who managed to overcome their difficulties was an invaluable reward. He knew that his purpose was to make a difference in people's lives, just as Madalena did in his. Miguel's story is a reminder that, regardless of circumstances, faith and kindness can transform lives. Even in the midst of pain and loneliness, love is a powerful force that can guide us to a better future. It's an invitation for all of us to look to the people around us, offering support and understanding, and to never underestimate the impact that a simple gesture of kindness can have on someone's life. Miguel continued his journey, always looking at the sky and remembering that God was by his side, guiding him at every step. He never forgot where he came from and always strived to give back to the community what he had received. And so, Miguel's story and his journey of faith, love, and overcoming became a source of inspiration for many, proving that, with hope and solidarity, we can build a better world for everyone. At the end of his life, Miguel looked back and saw not only the difficulties he faced, but also the lives he touched and the hearts he warmed. He knew that true happiness lay in serving others and never losing faith. And so, he continued to live, always believing that every dream, no matter how distant it may seem, can become reality with love and perseverance.